All right, so let's get this. Let's do this for the first time. Um, I'll have a video that explains all my rules in detail, but this is the challenge. This is the 15-minute challenge. Is make a meal from start to finish in 15 minutes or less, not counting the cooking time. The cooking time is its own thing, but your time in the kitchen, both cooking, chopping, cleaning, all of that stuff, you spend 15 minutes, and the goal is to get these meals together with, uh, you don't need anything fancy, you don't need any gadgets, you don't need to have a big fancy kitchen, but you don't need a can opener either. The goal is everything that I make will be either frozen, or there will be a few exceptions like chicken broth, but everything I make will be unprocessed food. It'll just be real food. I think that's really important, and I think we don't need enough, and I think it's because we don't realize how easy it can be to just eat well. But that'll be more in my intro video to this whole playlist. So let's get started. Today I'm going to make red beans and rice, and collard greens with ham hocks and cornbread. So we'll just see how that goes. We're going to try and get everything cooking within 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and get started with the collard greens. And one thing I find is it's best if you just get all your ingredients that you're going to use together from the outset. So I've gathered all my ingredients for everything. We're going to use some apple vinegar, some collard greens, some garlic, and an onion. And then the ham hocks over here. We'll talk more about the ham hocks once we get to them. All right, so first we're just going to slice up our onion here. I know there's a lot of ways people have of cutting onions that are super fancy, and like the whole dicing thing. There's a lot of these little gadgets that aren't expensive that you can get, like from Amazon, or if you want to get a nicer one, they sell some good ones on Pampered Chef. But you're just gonna, like what I do for onions, I don't like bits of onion in my food. I love the flavor, but I don't like diced onions. So what I do is I get this slicer thing, and I set it on 2. It's got three different ratings, and just makes this thing come up or down with the further from the blade to make the slices thicker, thinner. And you just put this little guy on here like this, and then you put this guy like this, and then you get a few going, and then you got this little pronger guy, and you put him on, and then you can just slice it back and forth until you get through your whole onion. And then what I'll do from that, this is great for if you're doing caramelized onions and stuff like that, for like an onion gravy. You can just leave them in those rings. But what I'll do now is I'll just come in with my knife and just kind of cut it a few times that way, and then come back here, cut it a few more times. And this is going to be slow cooking for several hours. So by the time it's done, the onions will be so cooked into the broth that the texture won't bother me. I don't know why the texture bothers me, but it does. I love the flavor. I wish the texture didn't, but this is how I get around it. And if you're like a mom that has kids, and as opposed to a mom that doesn't have kids, I guess. But if you have kids and you know, they don't like onions. This is a little trick you can do. Just cut them down so fine that they don't even notice that they're there. So now we're going to get, this is my, it's called a rock pot. It's a kind of crock pot thing that's made out of stone. But any slow cooker thing will do. I'm just going to take my onions and throw them in there. And then I just realized something I did forget. I'll have to grab those in a second. So then the next thing I'm going to do is get my garlic and just There we go. Okay. Just gonna put those through the garlic press. This garlic press, you don't have to peel it, but I'm gonna peel it anyway, just because I want to keep it on the same time as anybody else would be doing. So I find out if my 15 minutes are valid. All right. So we're just going to put a couple cloves of garlic in there. You can do more or less depending on how much you like garlic. And just squeeze that out there. And then we got this little cleaner guy that you can pop out on the back of that and just comb out the rest of that. Okay, and that's all the garlic we're going to be using for this whole meal. And then let's clean this up. Just move those out of the way. And now we're going to put in, this is a triple wash collard greens. You can get and stem your own and wash your own, but collard greens, they get a lot of grit in them and they're kind of a pain to wash. So I prefer to just get the whole bag, and we're just gonna put all of this into the pot. Hopefully. All right, there we go. So we've got all that in, and that's all gonna cook down quite a bit. So it looks more full than it is. Then we're gonna put in our chicken broth. And you can do like 4 to 6 cups of chicken broth, vegetable broth, or water, just depending on how big your thing is, your crock pot is. I think we can get a little bit more in there. Okay, and then in terms of measuring things, I'm not big into measuring stuff, but you know, I'll have a posted recipe for people that need measurements. We're gonna put in about, I don't know, let's say about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and gotta get my brown sugar. All right. And almost forgot about my brown sugar. Here's my brown sugar. And this is just your regular old light brown organic brown sugar. And we're gonna just put in about 1/4 cup. Okay. And just then the last best part is the ham hocks, and these are smoked, and you get all your flavor from this, and the flavor is amazing. And you can use other things. You can use a smoked turkey bone if you want, or you can use a smoked neck bone. I like the fattiness for the ham hocks, or for the collard greens, I really like the fattiness. And the skin just, I think that skin just really adds a lot of depth to it. And with collard greens, there's a bitterness, and so the sugar and the vinegar and the ham hocks, they really give you like a full, nice flavor profile. So now this is done, other than the cooking. So we're just going to put this on the slow cooker, and that will be done in about 6 hours. Okay, that'll take about 4 to 6 hours to cook. Now we're going to clean up after ourselves and just really quickly do a quick wipe down on the board here, and then get rid of this garlic stuff, and then we'll get going on the beans. Now, the reason I chose beans for my first meal on this is it was my favorite dish growing up, and it was the first thing my mom taught me how to cook, and it reminds me of her. She's why I love to cook. I learned from her that you can make things taste the way you want them to taste if you know how to cook. And it's not that hard. It's just about learning how foods work together. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is the beans and rice then. We're going to start. This is I do them in a pressure cooker. The nice thing about a pressure cooker is that you don't need to soak your beans. You can just throw them in there, and about an hour and a half later, they're all done. Just from dried to done. And we're going to do the same thing. Uh-oh. Well, might have to... Where did I put my... Oh, there it is. Lost my my slicer for a second. So we're just going to go back to the slicer once I get this onion peeled. And this is going to have one onion. If you want more onion, you can add it. Probably should have grabbed a bigger one, but here we are. If I ever get this thing peeled. Oh, there we go. All right. This is, all right, so just get this guy again, pop this guy in here, and chop him up, and okay, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to come back in and dice that up a little bit more. And the same thing goes with this. This onion will be just obliterated. You won't have any semblance of onion left in there other than through the flavor. And the same thing with the peppers we're about to chop. This is going to cook down so into it's just all going to become like one big broth. And if you want to, and typically I would, but because my filming situation right now is not completely set up, I would typically brown these onions first, but it's not mandatory. You can get away without doing that if you're in a rush. And then we're gonna seed and cook our peppers. I just like to slice those in half and then take that out. Boy, that onion's starting to get to me. Okay. So, and then for mine. I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but this is how I do it. I just come along here and slice like this. I love the way peppers smell. Like fresh cut peppers are just so aromatic. So then we're going to come back here and cut those. Okay, and then we're going to pick this up and throw that in there. And then we're going to do the other half. Okay. Okay, and then okay, and boom. All right, and then I think I was going to do 2 peppers. I think I'm just going to do 1 since I've only got this small in. All right, so now we've got that in there. And I just remembered something. Okay. So the next thing you need, most important part of red beans and rice, is the red beans. So I've already washed these and kind of gone through them. The thing about, I know there's like, if you go to the store, it'll say red beans and red kidney beans. You can get either one of those. The red beans are going to have a little bit of a different flavor texture. They're more like a nutty flavor. I don't know what they use in Louisiana or in New Orleans, but my mom always used the red kidney beans, so that's what I use. And so you just throw those in there, and that's just the one regular 1 pound bag. And then the next thing is my tomatoes. These are already washed. You can, go anywhere from 6 to 8, and you don't really need to do too much with these. I just tend to quarter them and throw them in the pot. Again, everything is just going to cook down so much by the time I'm done with this. You won't even, it's kind of shocking how it's just all one sauce. It's not like a soup where everything kind of retains some of its own form, but everything will be just reduced down to one big sauce. And that's what makes red beans and rice so yummy, is it's just this incredibly flavorful sauce that you put over your rice. And I think most countries, or at least a lot of them, have some kind of combination of some kind of beans and rice dish of their own. And the reason for that is, first of all, beans and rice are cheap. They store well, and they're a relatively complete meal in and of themselves. Beans have protein and fiber, and they're really a good food group to use. All right, so now we've got the tomatoes in there, and there's some different. 1 second here. Forgot my sausage. You can't have red beans and rice without the sausage. Well, you can. That's actually part of what I was going to say. Now, there's different views on, what kind of meat. People like different things. And like I said, the best thing about cooking is everybody can cook things however they want. But some people will use the ham hocks. I don't typically use the ham hocks, but I've used them and they come out really good. I use a combination of smoked neck bones and the andouille sausage, however you say that, andouille, the New Orleans sausage. Um, the reason for that, this gives it a nice like flavorful spice, a nice spicy flavor. This gives it that like rich smoky flavor that you're really looking for in a good beans and rice. Make sure you get the smoked bones. And if you're not a pork eater, you can always get the smoked turkey neck bones. And if you're a vegetarian, I don't know what to tell you. Liquid smoke maybe, but the smoke seems to be the essential part. So I'm just gonna, I hope I don't, can you see that? I can't, I don't know if you can see that. I'm just gonna put all the pork bones in there. And then I'm gonna open up this and we're just gonna slice up the sausage and put that in there. I'm just gonna thin slice that. Now this won't cook to nothing. You'll still have the sausage recognizable. And we're just gonna cook that down to nothing. Or slice this up, throw that in there. And this is one place where I actually digress from my mom's recipe. I added this myself once I realized that that's how authentic New Orleans people do it. My mom's in northeastern Louisiana. She was born and raised in Shreveport, and so was I for the most part. She went to high school with Terry Bradshaw, by the way. So, whatever you think of that. All right. So now we've got almost all of our ingredients in. We're going to just add some chicken broth. And you're going to want to do about 6 cups so that you can make sure that the rice, or that the beans get all nice and cooked. All right. So, and then we've got the most important ingredient of all, which is, hang on, as soon as I get this. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and pour this whole thing in there. Okay, that should be enough. All right, and then the most important ingredient is this Tony's Creole seasoning. And I never measure this. I'd say a couple of tablespoons. You can always add more. You can't take out some. So if you're gonna err on the side of caution. It's a little spicy. And then if you want to spice it up a little bit, you can put in, should have had this ready. You can put in a smoked chili or two. So we're gonna add one of those, just gonna put it in whole. And we're ready to go. This is just gonna go on the pressure cooker. We're gonna cook it for 90 minutes on high, and then we're just gonna let it depressurize. We've already got the collard greens going, and so this will depressurize, and then it'll just go on warm, and it'll just be ready whenever the collard greens are gonna be done. That'll take about 4 or 5 hours. So this will be done long before that. All right. I will say, if you've never used a pressure cooker, if you don't have a pressure cooker, two utensils that I think every kitchen should have are an air fryer and a pressure cooker. Both of those. Oh, my goodness, I almost forgot. Almost forgot the bay leaf. So yeah, gonna throw in a couple of organic bay leaves in there. All right. Okay, so that is the beans and rice are cooking, and now all we've got left is the cornbread. And the cornbread, I did not get fancy. I'm just gonna do a kit because there's really not much difference there between, you know, like just measuring your own ingredients and just using like a store-bought thing. I've got some beef tallow here, and I'm gonna put in my pan, my skillet, while if I can get it up. Okay. All right, gonna just put some beef tallow on in my skillet to, well, and put that in the oven to melt down. All right. And while I'm doing that, I'm gonna open this up. And this recipe calls for half a cup of milk and an egg. And so you just put that all together. And when it comes to baking, I am a little more precise because then you're dealing with chemistry. And then we've got this. Okay, and then half a cup of milk. New carton. Okay. And there we go. Okay. That should do that. And then just get a whisk. Should be around whiskey business right here. Okay. And so just gonna mix that up. And the oven's already preheated to 400 degrees. One thing my mom always swore by when it came to cornbread, and I've never been proven wrong on this, is that the most important part of cornbread is not the recipe, it's that you use a cast iron skillet. And some people might think, well, why would that make a difference? You know, I think that's just being, you know, like over dramatic about it. But there is a reason for that. There's something called radiant temperature, and that is a measure of how far off the surface something cooks. And the reason that things bake better in cast iron is that they bake to the center more, because it's more a uniform temperature, and then that also gives you like a nicer, neater crust. Okay, so we got that, and now I just need to get a rubber spatula. Okay, and then we're just gonna probably got the milk in your way. So I'm sorry I don't have a cameraman, and this is my first time ever doing something like this. So I will just say I'll learn as I go on it, but right now the whole goal is to get going on it. So we're just going to put that into our skillet. And you know, there's ways that people, you know, fancy up their cornbread. You can add honey or whatever, but since this is sopping cornbread, so I don't want to do too much to it. I'm just going to be using it to sop up the juice from the greens and sop up the bean juice. So, and you can't have beans and rice without gravy. All right, so there we've got that, and we've got just a couple of dishes to rinse off and throw in the dishwasher. And and a couple of things to throw away. So we're going to time that too. Although, again, don't have the camera set up, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. But I'm going to time it. Okay. So the bowl is next. And in the dishwasher, this bowl rinsed in the dishwasher. And then I just got to throw away this stuff. And then all I have to do is put away the stuff in the fridge. And oh, we got this guy. This thing is also dishwasher safe. So that's one of the benefits of it. Okay. So and now I've just got to wipe off my cutting board, and we're all done. And then I'll see how I did on my time in a minute here. Where did I put my sponge? Okay, so now just wipe off the cutting board, and we'll see how much time that took. This is one of those super nice cutting boards. You don't have to get one of those. But I will say this, I know sometimes people cut on plastic. I advise against cutting on plastic cutting boards, or on like those little thin ones or whatever. For a couple reasons. One, plastics, you get plastic. Secondly, a lot of people don't know about this, but wood has a natural antibiotic in it. So there's actually, you know, I know people will say, oh, I save my plastic for cutting meat. Well, it's actually, should do it the other way around if you're going to use both. Wood has a natural antibiotic, or whatever you call it, to it, some kind of thing that keeps stuff from going. Anyway, so other than putting a few things in the fridge away and throwing this away, well, actually this is going to the recycling, so we will do that later. Anyway, more or less everything is cooked and ready. I'll pull out the cornbread when it's done, and then once all the meal's put together, I'll have a video, add a couple minutes onto that. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. And oh wait, what's my time at? Whoa. Okay, well, 33 minutes for the whole video. We'll see how long